starting with the corporate counsel on real estate on two properties, 43 Gardens Street and 94 Furnace Street. Which one we're going to do first?
First we have 94 Furnace Street, which was a late addition to, actually should have been on the calendar, and I don't know why it wasn't, but everyone has a copy of it.
Yeah, we do.
There is one offer made on 94 Furnace Street. And that offer is a $1,000 offer, and that's been made by Joe McDowell, who is president. Who is here.
Oh, okay.
This was purchased by somebody last year, but they turned it back in and said they couldn't do it. I believe this was purchased last year. Hang in there, and it must be, it fell through?
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
It was a lady who was here, a young lady was here, her brother and her father were contractors going to help her. So now I guess it didn't come through, so it's back.
I don't know the history.
Okay, yeah, it's back.
I thought this was familiar.
Well, he knows. He was here last time. Yeah, he was out there.
When was it?
That was back in the winter, wasn't it? In 2015. Yeah.
Okay.
So he is the only bid.
Yeah, okay. That's your recommendation.
And if I remember, Bernie, didn't you speak to the state of this property last time it was discussed?
Yeah, and the time frame that the lady gave us, I thought was unrealistic. I don't think she had I think she had a realistic idea what should be done. This gentleman did, and he was here, and
there's a substantial amount of work to be done from what I understand.
I know what you're getting into, exactly.
Joe, do you have a time frame on this?
2 years.
2 years?
That's more reasonable.
2 years is
Maybe she had 6 months to 10 months up.
It was less than a year.
Yeah, she gave it back for it, remember?
Is your plan to modify it and put renovate it, put it on the market, or live, or?
No, it's rented. It's a rental.
Rental, yeah. Okay.
I believe the other lady was planning on using it as a
Primary
residence.
Okay, yeah.
So yes, I am recommending.
Yes, no, I mean, do you have a sheet?
Oh, I did.
You live in the city, don't you, Joe? You live locally?
I live in St. Miguel.
That's pretty close.
That's close.
And if you do rent it, you'd have somebody monitor it, make sure it doesn't, have issues affecting the neighbors, and you nip it in the bud before it got worse.
Joe even monitors the neighbors. Okay.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is a good
That's what I was asking.
No, I'm looking for the committee. Oh, wait a minute.
He just passed it down.
You just
Get rid report? I think he just passed it down.
Pass it down,
Just
right?
passed it
Was
down.
it that committee that's not attached to it?
I take it.
The sheet.
I do
Nothing
need-
attached to it.
Yeah. I don't have a sheet.
This one.
It might be big.
I have. Two of these, you might have.
I don't think they ever restocked them. Oh, they did.
You have my only copy unless you.
Oh, are they current?
Did you find it? Did you find
They
it?
got the current names. Make sure the names are current. They were like so old, like 3 elections ago.
We're there in the right. Okay.
Okay. I figured you'd be up to date, John.
Give Kevin a moment to just write this out.
How soon would you start, Joe? Once you got it.
Realistically,
Realistically, when could you start working on it?
Top of this good one.
When can you start, Joe?
Oh, we can start working on it. What's that, approximately, probably 2 months,
Okay.
maybe sooner.
Are you doing the work?
Yes.
I will say, for those of you folks who are not familiar with Joe, Joe's taken on a couple, what I would call less than desirable properties, putting a lot of work, and I wasn't kidding about it. And Joe is a presence at his properties. You know, he looks out for the property, he looks what's going on next to the properties, you know, and, you know, hopefully we'll get everything that he's been doing back on the tax rolls, you know, very shortly.
Okay. It's good to hear. Oh. Okay, any other questions? Okay. Committee for sale of 94 Furnace Street, tax map number 56.92-4-34 for $1,000 to Joe McDowell.
Give me a credit card for that.
Yeah. Estimated financial impact is $1,000. Okay. All in favor?
We have a
I have
motion?
no motion.
Thank you. Motion?
Motion.
Thank you. Okay. It didn't sound right. You know?
And it was too quick, huh?
Yeah, it was too quick. We didn't too okay. Now, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Yeah. Okay, 43 Garden Street.
No, I shouldn't joke about that.
Probably need a,
If it is, it should be 11. Just give them cash and credit card.
That's your cash. Okay, who's on this? Oh, Steve? Okay, there you go.
Everyone here is, everyone around the table.
Okay, here at 43 Garden Street, we have 3 offers. One offer is in the amount of $8,000, and that's to Joe McDowell. The other offer is from Mohammed Sarmaker in the amount of $40,000. And then the third offer is to Michelle Villavargas in the amount of $45,000.
This property also was sold previously and it came back.
yeah, this looks familiar too.
That came back.
The deal, it just didn't go through? Or?
I guess not, but it was, she was here that night and we awarded it. And I guess, when did it come back?
My understanding that the source of financing, the individual passed. So that's why this didn't go through.
Okay. So it's back.
Are either of these two others here?
Yes.
Michelle? Okay.
Can I say a few words before we get to
Is
speak?
the other party here too?
Yes.
Everybody's here.
And Joe's there.
Yeah, so everybody's here. Okay, well, are you part of this?
Yes, yes, I'm Victoria Hoyt. I'm their real estate broker. And I was compelled to be here tonight, although I know I didn't have to be here, but I just wanted to say a few words about this beautiful family of 6. What they would love to do is to turn this house into a home for their family and to renovate it and make their family proud as well as the city. And they have a dream like so many of us have had in the past, and that's to be a homeowner. So they're hoping that you would look favorably upon their offer. This is the dad, Ricardo, and he will speak on the family's behalf. And I sincerely hope that you consider our offer favorably.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay. So your intent would be to renovate and use it as your residence?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's a one family, right?
One family?
Yeah, I have 4 kids, so we are 6. So
Yeah, you need all that room, right?
I do. That's why we're here.
Does it require a lot of renovation?
Well, the front and it needs a lot of cleanup and maybe the furnace and you know, some stuff. But I think most of the front, yeah. Well, I'm trying to. I got my ideas, and I think if we do get it, we want to make it look good.
Have you ever renovated any other houses before? Do you have experience
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah, we had a home in Long Island, and that's what we did. Yeah. And then we sold it, we moved up here. Yeah.
So you're city residents now?
Yeah, we live. Yeah, we've been here like 5 years. 8 years. Yeah, 8 years.
6 kids fly, time flies.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, we're here and we saw the house and we're interested.
Okay. And then Mohammed?
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah.
That's us.
What would be your attempt?
Our attempt to be living there too as a family, and we came here last year too for same house, and somebody else got it, and hopefully we're here, and I'm crossing my finger to get it, you know. So, yeah.
Now, will you be doing the work yourself?
I'm working also, my dad is working too.
Okay. Do you have experience doing this?
No, we have family who have the construction experience, so we have showed them the place, and they also said they're going to come and help us with that.
Do you live in Kingston now?
Yes, we do.
And you would have, are you paying cash or you have to go get a mortgage?
No, we're going to pay cash. And we came last year too for the same house, and at this time when we found that, I really like this house. And I was like, hopefully this time we got it, like really. I was so excited that, you know, last time they didn't took it.
Question. Where are you currently living at now? I'm sorry, where are they currently living at?
Rentham Street?
Rentham Street.
Renting? You're renting?
No.
But you're renting the home?
No. We got a house, but my sister is going to take it over.
So this is going to take over the house and rental, and
Yeah.
you're going to purchase this one.
Yeah.
And you're living currently?
I'm 32, and we are renting the place.
Renting.
Yes.
Joe, you got any comments?
My comment is that I think that we don't withdraw from this because we don't need any more space. I think it's best out and go have dinner. Nice evening. We'll leave it this time.
You don't advertise it, Joe, so you're right.
I'll bring you back on the back of tea. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Kevin, you have a recommendation?
You know, whatever you guys do. I mean, you both have good choices. You really do. And that's why you guys are the decision makers.
Is your source of funds, is it cash, mortgage, what is it?
It's cash, and the source of funds are attached.
Yeah.
And we have proof of funds attached to the offer.
Okay.
I'll venture kind of an opinion on this. I mean, you know, both sound good. Yeah, I don't think we can go wrong with either one. I do like these folks because they have some experience renovating a property. No offense, but you sound like you're going to need a lot of help from your family and friends to get this accomplished. Right?
That was the problem the first time. She had families going to help her, and he probably went, whoa.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sure.
And again, no offense to either side, but we had this, Mohammed, I'm assuming, this is their second time coming in. We gave it to somebody the first time. I don't know before me if it was a high bidder or low bidder. They were here. We gave it to another person that fell through on it. So this is their second time coming back, looking at the same house.
Yeah.
They're renting right now. This family right here owns property in Kingston currently. And yes, you look at economics, it's $5,000 more. And in my opinion, I would feel that Mohammed should get this. This is their second time looking for it. If they state that they have a family that can fix this house up and get them in it, we shouldn't question it. It doesn't have to be always the person buying it, doing the renovations. Some people are not good with their hands, like me. That doesn't mean that I can't get a house going up. I have to pay somebody, I have to get somebody to do the property. That shouldn't be a deterrent or detriment.
We're not gonna sell anything to you.
No. You know, so in my opinion, I feel that this family who's been here 2 times looking at this, and you know, this is the second time around, they, you know, in my opinion, they should get the opportunity on this one look.
Have an opinion of it?
Yes, I do. They're both equally good. They're both families who could use their own place. But to break the tie vote in my mind, I'd have to go with the higher bidder, only because this did have back taxes owed to us, and I do have responsibility to the taxpayers. Like I said, they're both good families, but I have to look recouping something that we lost.
Yes.
I have this, what is the back taxes on this schedule?
No, I don't believe I have.
Thank you.
27,982.57.
It's back taxes.
Right, and I mean, just to keep in mind, on the other property, 94 Furnace Street, the back taxes were nearly $25,000, and we sold that for $1,000.
But like I said, we've gone through two or three people, so see, there's something, and he's going to put it back on the tax roll. So
I mean, this is going to, either way, where we go, it's going to go to tax roll. It's going to be a home that someone's going to live, it's going to be on the back.
But it's an extra 5 that can go towards.
Bill, you have anything?
That'd be kind of slow. I think a lot of times in these situations, it's not about the highest bidder. There's so many different factors, but here they're both. I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, you could flip a coin, and either way, Kingston wins, and I think you're often coming out. But all things being equal, in this case, I too would tend to the highest bidder.
Yeah. I think we're being fortunate. We have two great families here. We don't have this situation very often, but I'm inclined also to go. It's a tiebreaker.
Well, we have a long list of higher bidders.
Yeah,
We have more homes for sale.
We have a lot of other properties too, as well.
So I think we need, the sense I have is that the committee will go with the Vargas family. So I think we need to vote on that.
Get a motion first.
No, he's right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's right. Yeah. This time I'll ask for a motion. Okay, sale of 43 Garden Street.
You know what? I put the wrong amount. That should be 40. You can just listen.
Is that $4.50?
Feel free to make that 45 instead of 40.
I will make that 45.
You became secretary of the finance committee in the first place. Now I know what you're not going to last.
Thank you. Since the ends of the table are having a hard time tonight. Okay, sale of 40, we got the address right, 43 Garden Street, tax map number 56.26-8-33 to Michelle Villavargas in the amount of $45,000. May I hear a motion?
Motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Thank you all for taking an interest in.
Just to let you know, there's some other properties coming up.
That's okay, that's fine.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
You'll be welcome, keep it going. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
That's what it's Thanks for coming.
That has to be voted on the council floor, right, before it's,
Yeah, this will have to be voted on at the council floor.
in May.
The May
Make
meeting.
it truly official.
But as
May,
The first Tuesday in May.
First Tuesday in
I don't
May.
know what date that is.
Maybe that's one way.
whatever the first.
Is it second?
May 2nd.
Yeah, so-
2nd or, oh, holy cow. May 2nd or 3rd. Somebody help me out.
What's the procedure?
Well, we have to vote on it. It comes.
The full council must
You're more than welcome.
May 3rd?
Yes.
Everything comes out of.
May 3rd.
May 3rd.
That's the
7:30.
floor for the full
7:30.
council. Let's just look at it in Congress.
Right.
Committees decide when it comes to the full floor.
Formality.
And then we just do the title report.
That'll come after that.
Right.
We just want to be in the chamber to see it, to see it officially.
Appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The full council will approve the committee sections. So the state is.
95%.
Thank you all.
Take care.
Yeah, he did.
Thank you.
That's in my,
It's your word or your word?
he's in my room now.
Oh, okay.
They got business. Yeah, look.
Why, I hate to see this guy settle in here.
How many million is he asking for?
So you guys just.
Charts and maps.
Oh, we just made some money. Yeah. Back taxes.
Short-lived.
Alice's making around.
So the,
The judges.
number 2 on the agenda is, you returned to me last month, so we've moved on. And
Now, we returned to that and, that is the one that you were gonna get
Yes.
those bids on, or?
Yep.
Yeah. okay. Yeah.
Which I'm going to choose to.
so, you have, does everyone have a copy of the
I don't know what goes with what.
committee, of the,
Yes, we do.
okay, you have all that.
This is
March.
Ralph's letter, March 29th, regarding emergency bonding authority, Washington Avenue Tunnel Sanitary Sewer Block, right?
Right.
And then the other one is March 28th one, is that?
We have 3 from Ralph.
Anything you want, whatever you got. So there's several things on this. A couple of them have to do with continuing costs at the Washington Avenue Tunnel, the sinkhole area. The first item I have on there is GEA. We had initially an agreement with them for a price, but since the construction took longer than anticipated, their inspection fees were obviously higher because we had the grouting took longer than we anticipated, and that set a lot of other things back. So since they are our engineers of record, I'm trying to maintain
them on the project. They would certify at the end that the project is constructed in accordance with the plans and specs. So that's why that item is on my list here. The second is bypass pumping requirements. During the course of the work, we had to ask Sunup to demobilize because there wasn't enough room on Washington Avenue for both them and Geo Solutions to work. And so they left the site, left the work area for, I forget, 3 or 4 weeks. But they continued to maintain the bypass pumping for us. In addition to, or beyond what they would have had to under normal circumstances. They would have completed their work and their pump would.
Well, should Tony be hearing this? Does anyone? I feel like this is pretty important.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he left.
I didn't either. I thought I went to go straight.
Yes, he absolutely should. Thank you.
Brief interest.
He's out there? What's that? Oh, okay. Sorry, Ralph. I know you had some momentum.
I was on a roll.
Okay, there we go. There, I feel better now.
Can we retake that whole?
Yeah, I don't know. Can you play it back?
Tony, what's that take?
Doesn't feel.
What would take was.
So we were talking about continuing operations on Washington Avenue. And the items that I have here listed in my letter to you all. The first item I mentioned was GEA. GEA is our engineers of record. And I think we need to keep them on the job to certify that the work is completed in accordance with the plans and specs. It is an EPA grant involved, and somebody's going to want the project certified that it was completed in accordance with the plans and specs that were approved. And just to have multiple people certifying different things is a good thing to me. The second one is the bypass pumping requirements. I mentioned during the course of the work as Geo Solutions was getting ready to start the grouting process, it became apparent that there wasn't enough room for both contractors to work. And so we asked Sunup to demobilize temporarily. And during that demobilization, they maintained the bypass pumping, which was beyond what they would have normally been required to do, because they would have completed their work in a timely fashion, but instead they were asked to leave the site and then come back. So there was a space of 3 or 4 weeks that they were maintaining pumping that they didn't have to. Their additional pumping requirements don't come up to that $50,000 figure. But included in that is some of the work that you've asked me, related to some of the work that you've asked me to do. I have, as a result of last month's decision, you asked me to look at alternatives to the Washington Avenue Tunnel.
Right.
So we have advertised a request for proposals, qualifications. They are due Wednesday, April 20th. And they will be looking at alternatives. Perhaps hardening the tunnel somehow, perhaps a pumping station, maybe something else. So anyway, we've had at least half a dozen firms interested, and so that
You anticipate good responses? I mean, what's your temperature on?
Yeah, well, the process, we get proposals, then we have to evaluate them, award.
Sure.
That process is several months. And
I know we asked you to go out and do this.
Yeah, I don't know how
But
much.
my question is, do you really think putting together
Well,
some fruit,
Well,
Maybe
last
you don't
month,
know, I don't.
I think it could be $30,000 to $50,000 for cost. And I think, in the long term, it's the thing to do. It's just that, this project, if you say, oh, I want to do that, alternative, you have a 2-year design process. You may have to acquire property, and then you have the construction phase, which may be a couple years. So what you asked me to do last month is a 3 to 5 year project.
Right.
I was asking last month to solve an immediate problem. And so this extends the need to bypass pump. And if you've been out there, I have had a stormwater bypass pump installed and certain infrastructure to support it, which costs money. So
you warned us about that. Yeah.
right, to install that pump, and I had the pump installed underneath the road because I have a contractor on site that is in the process of installing curb and sidewalk. I can't have a hose running over the top of the road. And when we want to, if this extends further and we want to open the road, I can't have a hose running across the road with traffic on it. So I put a ductile iron pipe underneath to pump through. Well, the installation of that was close to $20,000. The monthly, or the rental on the pump is a little over $3,000 a month, or a week. So
How much does a pump cost?
Well, it depends on how long you want to keep it there. If I get an inkling that it's going to be there some long time, I'm going to push to buy a pump, just like we did up on East Chester Street. But right now, I don't know. So, I'm looking to see what your decision is, and then I'll decide what makes sense. And if it does, I'll get prices, and I'll be back here next month with numbers.
Do you have like a ballpark figure on what a pump?
Well, our 6-inch pump that we bought for DPW several years ago was, I think, about $60,000. That's a 6-inch pump. This is a 10-inch pump.
5 months rent?
This is a 10-inch pump. So, I can see it being over $100,000 to purchase.
This is probably a stupid question, I'm not an engineer. The way our infrastructure is collapsing in different areas, maybe it'd be cheaper in the end to buy it, because could we always pick it up and put it someplace else once this problem is solved?
We could.
It's like we did the traffic lights. They turn out to be real handy on Wilbur Avenue after all, and we end up buying them rather than renting them.
Right.
So I'm looking, all right, so we're paying $3,000 a week for a pump, when maybe we can make it our own, and we could use it someplace else, because it's just a matter of time before it's gonna happen to someone. I hate to be negative, but it's just gonna be a matter of time before.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree.
Need it.
No, I agree if we're gonna pursue this alternative. And, but, in the short term, I need to have a pump there because
Correct.
it's spring and we could get a storm at any time.
Would this be like a rent with an option to buy?
Well, I'll ask them. I mean,
Okay. It's just,
I
I'm
don't know
trying
how-
to think something.
Right. So I'll get a price for a new pump, I'll get a price for the one that's there with an option to buy, that's all. And I'll have it for you next month.
Okay, because like I said, am I wrong that there's going to be,
No.
could be used for something else?
Oh, absolutely.
In the interim, if God forbid this happens?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway, that is some of that, or that is the rest of that $50,000.
Right.
Okay? Now, I had $120,000 in there for overruns by summer. And they're not really, I guess you have to call them overruns, but it's not as a fault of some, of course. The original plans called for improvements to the area in Hatch, right here. Okay. This is 105, Mrs. Hart. This is 109. Sue is here, you know. So it went down to just about 92, Washington Avenue. But the grouting process, you know, all that work disturbed considerably more. See, the original plan had to included paving all the way up to Donovan. But in the process of doing all the other work, we disturbed, you know, the curb and sidewalk all along here. So we need to finish this. Because, you know, right now there's no curb and sidewalk in this area.
So
The bluestone and the...
Right, yes.
So it's okay to go ahead and do that while we're still got this problem then? You know, with the...
Yeah, well...
We won't have to tear that up. We'll say, well, tear that up
because the reason we did this, we created this earth arch, right?
Okay, right.
And that was to protect, so the tunnel could collapse,
Okay.
and anything can happen with it.
Okay.
And that was the reason we built this
Correct.
earthen arch, was to protect against surface subsidence from
Okay.
a future possible
Okay.
collapse. So that's where the other $120,000 is. It's to complete this curb and sidewalk out here, and there's a few other odds and ends, but you know.
No, it's that,
Those are
what my question was, if you go ahead with that project, put the curbs in,
Yeah.
there's nothing going down the pike in 2 years, we gotta dig that back up again because there's another
No.
issue. Because I would rather hold that off if you think there's a possibility of something else.
No,
I'm trying not to be negative, but
right.
They're just anticipatory.
I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
Well,
Plan B.
no, so that's the $120,000. The $30,000 is just for something else that we hadn't anticipated.
Miscellaneous.
Like what?
No, that's why it's called
Like a
unanticipated.
superstorm Sandy coming through or something.
Right, well, that's true. I mean, we could have a storm that exceeds.
Oh, in other words, it hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we could have a storm that exceeds the capacity of that 10-inch pump that I got there. And you might have damage because of that. Who knows? The next item is emergency invoices. You know, even though we weren't able to remove the blockage in the Washington Avenue tunnel, we still had men and equipment on the job that we need to pay for. And that's what that is for. And the last is consultant services, and that's in anticipation of this alternative to the tunnel. To get a consultant on the job, we obviously have to have money to pay for. So that is what that is for. Yes, sir.
Can you go to the emergency invoices again? I'm confused. It's
Well, the original,
It's a lot.
Big number.
well, the jet truck that we had there was roughly, well, we had multiple jet trucks there in order to get to the lake. Well, the trucks and the manpower and equipment was close to $10,000 a day. To get guys in the tunnel, that crew was $8,000 a day. Rough, I'm talking rough numbers.
Ralph, that includes, that 250 on this includes the 250 in this letter, right?
Yeah.
Where?
Yes.
In 120, okay.
Yeah. And so, you know, when you're working in the tunnel, you have to comply with a lot of stuff. a lot of OSHA regulations, and that means a certain number of manpower.
So this was over and above what they had anticipated?
Well, nobody was
Because of the
anticipating
time
this.
frame.
Remember, this is an emergency. And so nobody anticipates exactly what you gotta do. You go out there and you try and clear it. We tried to bypass pump, and you saw the issues I had with the pumping. I couldn't get it sufficiently bypass pumped. So we tried from the other end with the jet trucks. The equipment just wouldn't handle it, and that's why we were proposing this directional drill to drill through it.
The picture.
Because we couldn't get the horsepower up to the point where we needed to remove the material.
Was that emergency created by us? Or was it by one of the contractors? Or
It was caused, ultimately it was caused by the grouting process. And we talked about this before, well, who's at fault? Well, I don't know. I mean, somebody's got to decide that, but that's not me. And, but, you know, we had engineers on the job daily, and that's why, you know, it's important to have engineers on the job. Because it's their liability that it's they who are reviewing this, not me as an employee of the city of Kingston and you know, and absorbing that liability. So
Yeah,
they were on the job, they were watching. There were daily reports that the grouting contractor supplied to the engineers. There were daily, you know, decisions made, and right at the end of the job, by the last couple of days of grouting, why it happened, and it happened kind of like that. So.
Can I, this is probably Deborah, can I, somewhere do we have the total amount what we're up to for this sinkhole? Is there?
Well, I mean, it depends on if you count it like I do or if you count it like John does.
That's like John does.
Because John has included a couple of projects that I've separated out.
Well, either way, we gotta pay for it.
But either way, it gets
So,
close to
I'm
$8
just-
million.
Wow, I hope his figure's better.
No, no, that's his number. My
How
number's
much
7
is your
and a half.
number?
Ralph's number is 7 million right now.
575.
Before any additional bonding.
Okay.
My number is 7,520,000, and that's what, my number includes 2 bond authorizations that Ralph doesn't include. One was for 300, one was for 220.
They do relate to the tunnel,
but not,
specific
yeah, they were specific
for truck projects.
So this is from the time we started the sinkhole to the current,
Yep.
going on 5 years. This is
Right.
what we put into it, 75 to
7,520,000 is what I
Right.
have right now.
total. And, now this,
520.
this, now is this including these figures here that Ralph just gave?
No.
Not, so we're, I
That's
got
prior
another,
to anything.
That's why I
so
said
you
8
got
million.
another million almost. Well,
No.
500.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah. So it ends up being just a little over 8 million.
Right.
you might as well, yeah, so,
You know, with round numbers.
yeah.
So this,
So,
so this new proposal here is additional, from what I'm reading here, additional $575,000, is that what I'm saying?
Right, that's right.
And this is this is to bypass this grout problem?
No. The 250,000 is to pay invoices of the contractor that was on the job site, working with us to remove the blockage that we ultimately could not remove. You know, the 100,000 is for the alternative to the tunnel, you know, whether it's a pump station or whatever.
So what I'm trying to figure out, the grout would never be totally removed? So it would be there where it's at right now in its current stage? Because you came there last month, I believe,
right? We had an
1.2
option
million to try to go another alternate, to blast it with a more powerful.
To remove it, yes, with a drill.
But we didn't know if that would work. That was the question.
Well, that drill would drill through rock, so it definitely would drill through that grout. You know, the only concern would be to make sure that it is properly directed so that you don't drill up the side of the tunnel or something like that.
So that was the first one, $1.2 million, I believe it was?
Yeah, well, that was, you know,
Added it up.
and I don't remember what was included in it, but the quote from the contractor was roughly $700,000 for that project. I think I had included some of these other numbers in that brought it up to that.
That was the
1.2.
directional drilling and the contingency that came up to.
That's, okay.
Right.
And in your opinion, that would have been enough power, that drill would have been big enough to
That would have
remove
drilled,
this crap?
yes.
What devil's advocate, what could else help? You're saying could have been, it could have had, created another problem if it was not direct?
If for whatever reason, you know, it drilled out through the bottom of the tunnel or through the side of the sewer, that would be my concern. I mean, these directional boring or directional drilling units, they are surprisingly accurate, but you know, those you know, things happen, and
Historically, have there been some issue,
I haven't been involved in a lot of directional drilling, but it's amazing what they can do with it.
Another part, my other question is this, so this alternate, this one alternative thing is additional $575,000.
Yep.
And that's going to have, this is going to be installing pumps, bypass pumps that.
No. The 50,000 there
Just the 50.
makes Sun Pole for the additional pumping that they had to do, and for the pump I got out there right now.
One that we were talking about,
Yeah.
maybe discussing a purchase.
Yeah.
And this would bypass this water, is this what we're trying to bypass, this?
Well, we have,
stormwater?
since I can't use the tunnel, I have an active overflow. I can't put water in the tunnel, otherwise I'll have an overflow out into the creek. So I need to bypass the stormwater that comes down the Tannery Brook across the street and utilize the historic channel of the Tannery Brook to uptown.
Now, I thought it was one other concern or thing about the sewage. Are we solved that issue?
Well, this will.
This would.
This would help.
Right?
Well-
So something about the stormwater maybe going
It'll-
into the sewage.
Yeah, it keeps the stormwater out of the tunnel and out of the sanitary, and so that we don't have an overflow to the creek and issues with the DEC and everybody else.
John, this figure that you gave us, does that include the money some money we got from FEMA or anything like that at all?
No, that's the gross bond amount.
That's a gross, so, I mean, obviously the project was higher if we got money towards it, but we haven't.
We'll be reimbursed from EDA $1.12 million.
So that'll bring it down to about 6 million.
6.8, 6.9.
we're not gonna run out of time on that, are we?
No, we're gonna finish,
I mean, that's indefinite, it's from when we finish the project.
it has to be completed July 8th,
This year?
yes. They're putting curb and sidewalk out there. You'll be amazed to see what will happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
I would be.
The curb will go, you know, be in by the end of next week. They're going to be pouring the aprons for the driveways as they go along, and then they'll start the sidewalk, and it'll look much different.
I'm sorry.
Pardon. This is for you. We paid for an attorney who was very familiar with New York City's water projects, and this is a part of their project going back 100 years, that there was a possibility we could recoup some of our losses. We paid the attorney to investigate it, and he was very good at selling other communities who've had problems with the same thing with the New York City water. Do you know what's the status of that now? It was a George Rodenhouse or something. He was very familiar with it. You were here, we talked about, he was very familiar with other communities who had, so I'm wondering, is that suit going forward to help some of us allay some of this cost?
I don't know anything about it.
Well, Dan would know that because Dan did some of the what do you call it, the discovery and research on it. Him and Andy Sullivan did.
In the end, I don't think it was
What's
gonna,
that?
I was the only one who fought that too.
Right.
I don't think it was gonna be productive. I think if it was, it would be ongoing.
Well, it was, I mean, right now, looking at it, it's a drop in the bucket. It was possibly a chance, 25 as opposed to 8 million. If we could even recoup $1 million, we would still, but it was, I mean,
Yeah, but remember, that was just to see if we had a case, and then
Right.
the clock started on
right, well then,
the real
like I
legal
said,
fees.
but
So-
I also feel if we hadn't and we could have,
Yeah.
you know, that's the what if, so.
Yeah, it's.
I mean, again, before my time in this whole story here, this whole Washington Avenue, we're going back to 2012, 11. This is when the road started sinking in, right? And then.
Do an addition for 2006
Right.
somehow.
So walk me through. We built the road back up. This with this arch. Is this what you're saying? How do we get the road back to where it's at now? As a class. Walk me through that. Just give me an overall summary.
Yeah, well, in 2011, the street caved in.
Okay.
So there was a big concrete box culvert in there. It all went down a big hole. So we pulled it all out, and it was, we had Bernier Larios working with us. It was determined that we did certain things. We did that, and the street was brought back to grade, and it remained stable for some period of time, you know, over the winter. And then in the spring, there were signs of additional subsidence. So the road was closed again. There was further testing done, and we determined that the tunnel needed to be lined. We put that out to bid. Just before the contractor gets on the job, the whole street goes in the hole again. So then, at that point in time, the tunnel filled with sand from up above. So then the job became not one just relining it, but then we had to clear it of soil and reline it. And it all of a sudden then became much more hazardous because now you had a breach in the tunnel. You had a hole in the top. So we got proprietary PVC liner material, and that material in itself was, I think, almost $350,000. And then we had a crew, 1-2 men at a time, to remove the material. We used a vacuum truck and water lamps, and they removed the soil 10 or 12 feet at a time, and then lined it and grouted it. So there was a process. And so we ended up spending $1 million clearing, and so then the storm side was in good shape. We TV'd the sanitary. We knew there were some issues. We found some big holes in the pipe like that. So we had to reline it. So that was put out to bid. That cost for that project was roughly $330,000. And we installed this fiberglass liner because that was 10 times stronger than the normal PVC liner that is put in. So that's why that was chosen. There was an issue during the installation, but they completed it, and we were assured that everything was fine. And so then we knew the tunnel and the liner were in good shape at this time. But what about over the next 20 years, you know? So the long-term solution was to create this protective shield, which is this earthen or soil cement arch.
Okay.
And So there was a whole design process for that and bidding, and, you know, the project got underway last year in June or something like that. And so, so now we're near the completion. And, you know, all of that work, these last two contracts, total nearly $4 million. So we're talking about extras here of a couple $100,000 out of $4 million, which is, you know, a couple percent. So if you can do a construction job and be off by only a couple percent, you're doing well. And so that's why I'm here to get this finished up. I know there's been all these, you know, circus going around about it, but you know, we're getting to the last bits of it, and then we can move on to some of these other projects.
Bill, do you like have like a date in your mind, like a date you're hoping for that, you know, will be opened up again and we're ready to roll?
Well,
do you have a time frame?
Well, you know, I can see that the curb and sidewalk will be done in a month. They'll shape the street up, you know, and that'll take a matter of days, and then they'll be ready to pave.
And those are paving costs?
So everything below the ground is okay,
Done.
other than just bypass?
Yes. GeoSolutions is coming to do one last little bit of contact grouting around the shaft, a day or two, and then they're done completely.
Now, we figured the paving costs and all this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not another
Oh,
issue.
like
When you see the street opening,
Well, you know, that'll be up to the mayor when he wants to open it. I mean, but we could conceivably open it this summer.
Christmas present to Washington Avenue residents.
Right, then you'll get complaints about traffic.
Right, it's been kind of,
Well, you'll get calls from people on Clinton Avenue thanking you.
oh, yeah, you get right.
So.
Thank you.
You know.
Ralph, how comfortable do you feel that all the cracking to the foundations and all that stuff was due to the work that was going on and not something we don't know about yet?
Well, it's, you know, it all happened simultaneously, so I gotta believe that, you know, it was caused by, somehow by the work.
Just the vibrations alone on these old houses.
Yeah, but with the vibration, we didn't have vibration. The biggest vibration was the excavator running down the trench.
That doesn't help.
But, yeah.
okay, Ralph, appreciate you detailing all this. Now, obviously, yeah, I hear your point on the percentages, you know, coming within a couple percent, but yet each one of these, you know.
No, a small percentage of a big number is a big number.
It's a big on an absolute level, so that's our
Yes.
discomfort. We just want to understand it. Yeah.
Along those lines, I'm still trying to, the inspector's fees, because it took longer, I mean, were they on site like every day, or was it?
During the grouting, they were. Yes.
Okay, so that 26 is because they were there every
Yes.
day, it wasn't like, well, it took
Certain
longer, and then they kind of
aspects,
came and went.
right, certain aspects were considered very important, and so they were there every day.
When we first started this project way back, there was some concern that this could go beyond Washington Avenue. Remember that discussion we had, that we were addressing the media, and you felt there was a manhole cover issue by Lucas Avenue?
That was that other contract that we did, that was at $220,000.
Okay.
We
But there was also-
rehabilitated that manhole and part of the tunnel.
Okay, because I know there was concern that where the County Brook actually comes in, if something could be further, you know, like arterials going out based on the main artery. That was, I know that was mentioned at one time. They could go further than Washington Avenue.
People being negative.
Oh, no, I'm tired of being caught with a pants
Well,
down.
I mean, I'm not
Like,
sure,
you know.
I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I mean, a lot of people were talking about, you know, is there other avenues for the water to go through?
No, they said there might be
underground?
further collapse on that pipe. It just
Oh, on
doesn't.
the Washington Avenue?
Right,
tunnel?
right,
Well, yeah, that's why we're looking at the
Okay.
alternatives.
all right.
Because long-term, it's not in the city's best interest to maintain that tunnel the way it is. And that's why I had it on my capital project list 3.5 years ago.
It's all part of asset management now, huh?
That's right. And we're going to be meeting about asset management.
That's good.
Soon, when is that day? I forget. Okay.
But you're all invited if you want to come.
Got
I think
pictures.
some of us will do. Further questions? Let me read the committee report.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thanks, Ralph.
Department of Engineering. As a result of the continuing operations on Washington Avenue and unanticipated expenses as a result of the emergency work initiated in November 2015 caused by the Washington Avenue Tunnel and sanitary sewage blockage, additional costs have been incurred. One, additional engineering costs in the amount of $26,042 for construction oversight by our engineer of record, that's GEA. Two, additional stormwater bypass pumping costs in the amount of approximately $50,000 as a result of the increased project timetable required for soil improvement grouting and the need to provide continuing temporary pumping capacity to provide for engineering alternatives RFP. Three, cost overruns for Washington Avenue streetscape improvements of approximately $120,000 as a result of construction impacts during deep soil grouting. Four, allowance for further unanticipated costs in an amount of $30,000. Five, unpaid invoices for emergency invoices by Grant Street Construction in the amount of approximately $250,000. And six, anticipated consultant service for the recently advertised RFQ for Washington Avenue Tunnel alternatives. Therefore, be it resolved that $575,000 in additional funding be authorized for the additional costs as described above. So additional estimated financial impact is $575,000. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you, Steve. A second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
When I get these these proposals in a week or so, I'll let you all know. Perhaps I can enlist one or two of you to be on our selection.
Okay, sure. Okay, moving right along.
Moving right along. Number 4 is Broadway Grand Street Sewer. And I have...
That was an extra. I got to look at this and I'm going to bring
That's the
you
billion and all.
enough papers so that I can take that.
So about a year and a half ago, council authorized $100,000 to design repairs, replacements to the Broadway Grand Street sanitary sewer. And so we've done that. We've gone out to bid, and we've received bids, which I have larger copies of.
Was that what they were doing there on Broadway the other day?
What they're working on Broadway right now is Central Hudson is replacing gas main.
Dicing going in there, that's
Yep, yep. From basically Grand Street to the underpass, and then there's I understand there's another skip space underneath the bridges. I don't know why.
just because of the work we're gonna do here.
No.
Something.
And then there's more work on the other side, and then they're also going to be going down Prince Street, and they're going to go down Grand Street, and every place that we're going to disturb with the sewer project, they're going to replace the gas main ahead of us.
That's a good idea.
Now, the first column is your estimate?
The first column is our estimate. Our Barton and the Judas are the engineers on this project. And so,
And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
6, 7,
yeah.
8 bids.
yes, yeah, we had a lot of nice bids. Yeah. I mean, this is the plans and specs I brought with me.
Nine.
No, the first one is.
The,
First one is RS.
Oh, and-
yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the low bidder, which is our Genio Brothers, now they did the Beale Street project for us a couple years ago.
How's that going? No problems with it when it was?
Yeah, no, they did a, you know, it ended up being a good job.
Just looking for a reference.
Yeah, well, they did, you know, they did a good job.
Are you
But-
familiar with some of these?
I-
Other than Grant Street, some of
Casale is out of Albany, I haven't, and Louisi, I haven't heard of them. Osterhout, they're Ellenville, they did some work for us on Frog Alley a couple years ago, that emergency down there. Arrow Construction, you know, and Kingston Equipment, you know, right, so.
Where's our Genio from? Where are they from?
Newburgh.
Okay.
So your summation, I guess, is that in this case, low bidder is best because you have experience with them. They've done work for us.
Well,
We
I
found
mean,
that didn't always.
that's, the low bidder is the low bidder. They are a responsible bidder, and we happen to have experience with them.
Yeah.
And we've had, you know, generally a good experience with them.
Yeah, if you didn't pick them, we'd probably want to know why not.
How,
That's
now,
right.
Yeah.
Arrow, we should have some kind of.
Arrow Construction, I mean, they've done a good job for us. Kingston Equipment's done good work for us. Osterhout's done good work for us. Sunup, I think, has done good work for us. Grant Street has done a lot of work here in Kingston, good work. The only people we haven't had experience with is Louisi and Casale, and neither of them are, you know, a little bit.
Are they local? I never heard of them.
Albany, I think they're, both of them were working here.
You know, looking at the difference, it'd be nice if we could give it to a local guy. He has more, he has to look at us every day if he screws up.
Well,
I mean, I hate to be that way,
Not
but.
for the
yeah, but I mean,
$450,000.
yeah,
But
the
you gotta
local,
look at us every day.
Yeah, who do you
Not
consider,
for $450,000.
Well, we
who are you
have,
considering local?
well, I was looking, well, Arrow's local and Kingston Equipment's local, right?
Yes, and they have to be the two highest.
Right.
Yeah, I know, but, so we've been taking the low and it doesn't always turn out to be that low.
Yeah, well, we're constrained by state law here, so, you
To a
know,
certain extent or totally?
as long as they're a responsible bidder, you have to give it to the low bidder, unless you want to throw them all out and rebid it. And nobody likes to do that.
No, but I just know
So
that.
otherwise, you're going to be in a lawsuit.
Right, once you pick that and then you get
Right.
all screwed.
No, well, that's what the state
Why are
says.
you saying that my
Right.
construction company is non-responsive? You know?
But how come the
Prove it.
low bid bids and then they have.
As long
to have
it's in the
another-
language where we can put a lid on over, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
That's the
because
first
Well,
thing.
we have, I mean, in this
Or is the
case,
language all the same on that?
in this case, it's unit price bid. So you put in so many number of feet of pipe, you get paid for that number of feet of pipe.
Okay.
Now, the one on Washington Avenue was a lump sum. So there's pluses and minuses to those two different things.
If we went with a company other than Grant and Sunup, if this new job overlaps into what they've done, how receptive are they going to be to somebody else coming in there? It work. You understand what I'm saying? We're giving complete, this is basically working with the sewer, and they've been working on it right along, the Grant Street and the Sunup. They've
This is a
been-
different location.
Oh, different oh, the Broadway.
This is
one.
Broadway.
Okay, Broadway, right. We haven't used them there at all. We haven't used Sunup or Grant Street on that area at all.
No. We used Baker Brothers down over here.
But that's my next, okay, that's on the corner by the
Yeah,
hospital.
but that's, you know, that's 2 years difference and 1,000 feet. Different project.
I've seen low bids and we've put another 2 million beyond the low bid, so I was just trying to.
Yeah, but they have a track record with us, it's not like we
Well,
have
that's
no idea
true.
who they are.
Oh, you know,
What's the term of the project?
how long will it take?
Yeah.
Well, see, it's April, May, by the time we have, they're actually on the job, it'll be sometime in June, right? So they can, it'll be tight at the end of the year, whether, if they get finished or not.
How's that holding up?
Well, that's
beyond anything before.
Yeah,
right?
that's the reason. I mean, the reason we're doing this is that we've had 4 emergency sewer repairs in this area.
I know.
And it's 20 feet deep.
And that's a tricky spot.
And that'll stop the flooding of the bridge?
This project will remove stormwater from the underpass.
Okay.
The project that will solve that issue is the H2M project, the Jacobs Valley,
Yeah.
Okay.
which they have started the design process.
Oh, cool.
You get rid of that line, water line, don't enter the walkway.
Oh, that's a seven.
Yeah, Bernie.
Ralph, how is this going to affect the flow of traffic on Broadway?
Well,
And the parade.
we're requiring that they maintain two-way traffic.
Okay, now, having said that,
Yep.
how does this interact with the railroad bridge?
Well,
I'm sorry to present it, but,
it,
because when they built the underpass, Grand Street was the way around. to
Right,
Cornell,
right, that's
to
right.
Smith.
yeah. Well, I mean,
You haven't, there's no entry yet, okay.
I mean, the detour is up Smith Avenue to
Cornell.
East O'Reilly, right? Or up, up Smith Avenue to
Cornell, post office. Left of the
well,
Cornell.
but to get this way
Oh, to get this
on
way?
Broadway,
The Grand.
To Grand, coming down.
well, you have to come past Grand.
Oh, because Grand, oh, okay.
When Grand is under construction, you're gonna have to come back. from
East
the-
O'Reilly?
Yes, a block, and then come down here.
Okay, I just,
Should
How long
prove
did
it
you
say it's gonna last?
Well, the work on Broadway should last probably several weeks. Grand Street, Prince Street is, we're looking at just relining the sanitary sewer, so we're not actually going to do any construction, any digging in Prince Street for the sanitary sewer. But we're going to be installing some storm sewer to separate the storm from the sanitary. And that excavation will be closer to the curb line. I suspect, and that the storm line will take a couple of weeks on Prince Street. And Grand Street, might take a couple of months.
So if they're coming down Broadway, we got this right, they're gonna have to go Cornell, they come around, right?
Well, under normal circumstances, they'll stay on Broadway.
Okay.
And we'll split the flow of traffic a little and make room for the.
I can take this off.
It's only
Yeah.
when a train happens to stop.
Oh, Lordy, that,
And is there for some extended period of time.
yeah.
That problem, a larger detour will
Which is
occur,
five
which happens today, which happens now.
It's 5 times a day.
Right. But it comes down, and they all tend to come down Grand Street.
Oh, that's right.
So they're gonna have to come down East O'Reilly.
East O'Reilly.
So they're gonna have to move one block over.
Easter, that's by the firehouse.
Yes.
oh boy.
So
And that's
this will
where
not
that
mess up.
five-corner
This
intersection,
won't,
it's a
this won't
nightmare.
affect the fire department, you know, they respond to it.
Well, I mean, they have a zone that must be maintained clear in front of the firehouse.
Yeah.
But it's just like, they get around when there's congestion on Broadway, so they just drive around.
It's at that wheel 400 down here too, but nobody
John
wants to
and-
go.
John has informed me that we need to bond for $1.9 million as opposed to $1.94 million. It's cumbersome to have a non-round number, I guess, right?
We can round off to any number you want.
I'll just take 4,000, I'll round it up to $1.9 million and take take that difference off the
Oh, why don't we
contingency.
round it to 2?
There we go, all right.
Yeah.
No, we're always rounding down instead of rounding up.
It's not Christmas. We'll just take it off,
That's
about
fine.
$4,000 off the contingency, all right?
That's fine.
Okay. Any other questions?
Well,
Yeah?
I don't know, is that what you're recommending?
Well, I mean,
Another 400 off the
And
contingency.
then it-
No, 4,000. The bond request, the authorization was for 1,904,000. I needed to round to a round number, so I recommend using 1.9.
You take 4 out of
Right, I mean, you know, the contingency is an estimate anyway. We're looking at 15% on
Right.
already a $1.5 million project. So there's already $225,000 in contingency there. We're just shaving 4,000 off of that.
Okay, engineering. And any other questions?
Rounding down.
Upon completion of design of the combined sewer separation project encompassing a portion of the Broadway sanitary sewer, the Grand Street combined sewer between Smith Avenue and Broadway, and the Prince Street combined sewer, the work was advertised for bid. Satisfactory bids have been received, and a responsible bidder recommended for award by our engineer Barton and
Lejudas.
Logidicy, or?
Lejudas.
Huh?
Lejudas. It's pronounced Lejudas.
Oh, Lejuice.
Lejudas.
Judas?
Lejudas.
Judas.
Lejudas.
Okay. You guys are over there. Therefore, be it resolved that the low responsible bid is $1,520,520 submitted by Argenio Brothers be accepted. Also, that a contingency amount, and I'm changing this to $223,780, be added for unanticipated circumstances, and an amount of $155,700 for construction inspection services. Therefore, let it also be resolved that funding in the amount of $1,900,000
We toss it around like it's.
be authorized to cover the construction expenses, okay? Motion? And a second?
Second, if I can.
Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm an official committee. Yeah, second, I'll second that.
Second?
He is seconded.
I seconded it. That's my warning.
Can he do that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, if I'm an official voting member, I should be able to second it.
Yeah.
You know, not like I'm on probation or anything.
Yeah, prove yourself.
Okay, all in favor?
Watch out for the
Aye.
ethics.
Opposed?
Bernie gave me one.
Watch out for the ethics committee.
And the majority leader's got to count for something.
Wait a minute. Kevin, how can he second if he can't vote?
I am voting.
He has been voting.
I have been voting.
He's been voting.
I know, we resolve that, okay? Okay, all right, you say so. All right.
He's voting.
Don't take it back now.
Now,
If not,
okay. Now for bonding. Let's go back here. From the department, from the control on behalf of engineering. Request authorization for additional bonding in the amount of $575,000 for Washington Avenue Tunnel rehabilitation.
Second.
Motion?
A motion, second, motion.
She's seconded.
I'm seconding
Think of
it.
your mind. You want both?
Whatever.
Steve, second. All in favor? Aye.
Just remind
Opposed?
everyone,
Long call, long roll.
2/3 vote on the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah, right. Put on the committee,
No, but just want to remind everyone that.
okay, Department Controller on behalf of the engineer, request authorization for $1.9 million bonding for the combined sewer separation project Broadway and Grand Streets. Motion, please?
motion.
Second.
Tony?
We got it right
And
there.
Debbie Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you for responding to our
That's a ribbon.
You want this one back?
Do you need these back?
I mean, that's already in the package.
Yes, oh, well,
That's
that's more readable.
I know.
It's more readable, that one was out.
Form to represent the procurement policy.
Over here?
Okay, turn it
Head of the table.
Thank you for waiting, Brian.
Quite all right. I'm playing well.
Let's see, there should be one more coming around.
Yes, one more is. Where'd you play, man?
Stockholm, Stockholm, great place to be.
We're looking for members.
That's right.
Yeah. This is a golf.
This now, come over. I used to be.
You should sign up.
I don't know if I'm playing my keys. I just must.
You should sign up on the show line. Brian, when did tickets come out again for the next membership?
Oh, I don't think it'll fall.
Okay, the bike ticket.
Unless they want to do it again, they did one year, they did twice.
I'll hit you guys for tickets.
Okay, Brian, what's this all about?
Okay, I didn't think I'd be back again this soon regarding our now titled procurement policy and procedure.
When were you here last?
In December.
December.
Every year, the state controller advises that municipalities and local governments revise and review and make changes on an annual basis to the procurement policy. So the last 5 years or so, we, in the fourth quarter of the year, bring a revised procurement policy to the council, to the finance committee.
And what brings you back so soon?
Well, continue.
Not that we don't like to see it.
Oh, that's quite all right. On a regular basis, I monitor the audit report to the New York State Controller's Office continuously. I report to John things that pop up of interest. And the theme of the State Controller over the last maybe 18 months, but the volume has gotten turned up most lately, it's been very high. They've made it a point of emphasis, is that they want to see some type of competitive process as it relates to the acquisition of professional services. They acknowledge that it's an exception, that professional services can be an exception, but they still believe it's a best practice that a competitive process be in place. In fact, in a recent audit to the Brockton Central School District, they made the following recommendation. They're speaking to a board, the Board of Education there. The board should adopt a purchasing policy that addresses procurement of professional services and items that fall under bidding thresholds, including the use of RFPs, quotes, verbal quotes, and required documentation. So, working with John, we put together, and it's on page, do you all have a?
Yes.
Okay,
We've got it.
wonderful.
We don't have a nice cover like you do.
I know.
Yeah, I know, what's with that?
Hey,
That's in his budget.
the position has its privileges.
That's all right.
Let's see, on page 34.
34? Those 14, I thought
Now, 34 is the professional services. And what this does, it puts in place a structure and a policy as to the acquisition of these types of services. Has a dollar, they recommend in a lot of their audit findings. I can share these with all of you as well. They do recommend that they have dollar thresholds, and you see we scaled it under 3,000 to 35,000 to over 35,000. So there's an escalating procedure related to the value, the anticipated value of the contract. And what this does, this puts into place, it makes it competitive. It makes it a competitive situation, and this is in keeping with the attitude of the State Controller's Office, that they want to see competition in this field. Even though they acknowledge that it is an exception to purchasing, but to the procurement rules. General small operate. So, like I said, the prior policies just had it, just acknowledged that it was an exception, because of professional services
It's just this.
Not material or not tangible?
No, this really has a verifiable procedure, so if we follow, and we have.
Yeah.
We have put out, over the last couple of years, we did the auditing services. We did, I'm trying to remember now off the top of my head, what else did we?
You've also done the parking.
Oh, we
management,
did,
did
our
that.
parking, parking.
Does it have anything to do with insurance? Would that be part of it?
Insurance, well, not really, no.
Health insurance.
We're talking like engineering services, we're talking maybe legal services
I mean,
sometimes.
I don't think this is a bad idea.
You mentioned, Bill, the health insurance, we recently did.
The health benefits
Health
program.
insurance, we're actually in the process of evaluating those proposals, so, as Brian's mentioning, we have a concerted effort to increase the competitive acquisition of professional services. This is really going to memorialize and put in place a firm guideline for all departments to follow. This would include capital projects as well, so engineering would
We're
follow
kind of
that.
ahead of the curve anyway now, right? I mean, the state's kind of.
So this chart here is.
Have a lot of experience, unfortunately.
These are new?
Yes.
Are they significant changes or?
Well, there was never any value assigned to the acquisition process for professional services.
I
It was
see.
just- The prior policy pointed out that it was an exception to general municipal law, procurement law, and that it would be based on the evaluation of the mayor or the.
So you've got three thresholds here.
This is,
Yeah.
and it's graduated, you know, and I think if you're looking to spend, or the city's looking to spend anything over $35,000 on a consulting fee or whatever, that's, and we have, I think Art Lududas has participated in RFPs. I think some of their engineering services were awarded through an RFP process. And we have done RFPs for these types of services, but now it just puts it, it's a first policy.
There's never been, this policy right here is the first time there's been any thresholds put in place for professional service.
Okay, so why don't we use 25, is we just,
Well, there's thresholds for goods, there's also thresholds for capital items.
Capital projects.
Capital projects, but this is different, that's
And that's on the
not
preceding page,
professional
on page
services.
33, you'll
Right.
see.
So there's many municipalities in the state who have no threshold for professional service. They use it because, once again, as Brian mentioned, there's no requirement under state law to do an RFP for professional service. However, they come in, they strongly recommend it, to protect the taxpayers. So you have some municipalities who have RFP thresholds, some who don't. Right here, the city's trying to get ahead of the curve. To give you an idea, the county uses $50,000, I believe, Brian, right? For their threshold for professional service RFP. We use 35, we're a slightly smaller entity. It wouldn't preclude us from doing an RFP for a smaller item if we felt that it would be in the best interest to do an RFP. But prior to this, it was really left to the judgment of the department and this, purchasing really to whether or not to do an RFP. This puts in place guidelines that shows there's oversight by the council of the process.
So the state controller says tighten this up.
Consistent.
And who picked these numbers? Are they?
John and I.
So that's a local decision.
That was a local decision, which, is open to discussion, it's open to, we can come back to the council.
And they can always be changed.
Yes.
I mean, I have no basis
Yeah,
for.
right.
We just felt the numbers were reasonable, and looking back to the value of contracts that we've had previous.
Well, you're in the trenches on this every day.
Right.
We trust John's judgment. Well, I know, I can't speak for everyone.
I can tell you at the city level, excluding capital projects, and there might be some exceptions that the council's already aware of.
we had that
Professional
emergency
services.
situation on
Right.
the corner of, Broad, we had to have a plumber come in real quick. That was an exception.
By and large, we follow.
That wouldn't be a professional service.
Oh, okay.
That would be a public works project.
Oh, okay.
Now, is this a change that all contracts must be approved by the mayor? I assume not.
They all should be
They all were
anyway, yeah.
Huh?
They all work.
They all-
That's a continuing,
Yeah.
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 And once again, to give you a little additional information, with the quoting of the $3,000 to $35,000 doesn't necessarily preclude the city from going with someone other than the low bidder. We just have to document why we make a decision otherwise. Right, but we're just showing a good faith effort to get competitive
And those
prices.
quotes would be evaluated in similar manner as you would evaluate an RFP,
Correct.
a best value. This is something I'm going to be getting to a little bit later in this presentation, discussion on best value.
Thanks, Mark.
So this is really the essence of your request, that we approve this.
But there's a couple other little changes.
Oh, all right, okay.
In this manual. Like I said, it's a continuous thing. I figured while we're at it, because there are a couple things popped up. You know, I always am constantly reviewing and monitoring and seeing things that can be improved. So I figured while we're here, bring it to the table. Why I didn't see a reason to wait until December to bring in a couple of additional changes while we're.
Yeah, sure. And John, you said we had to document if we don't go with the lower bidder. We have to document. Is that subject to review by somebody?
We should document our decision. That maybe
Is that
better
just
way
for
to
our
say it.
benefit, or does somebody?
That's for our
review
benefit.
that?
Well, it would also be for if you were forever audited or let's say, I guess,
Well, that's
or
what I mean,
even in the documenting the choice to go with not a low bidder or a low quoter or
Right.
low offer, and this because it's being evaluated similar to an RFP. You would want to document that because the last thing you want is that encounter a protest from the person or firm that didn't get the job. Now it will lead to a delay
I
in
see
being able to.
35, I was just going to ask clarification.
Okay, well, we just
Right.
approved the, bid from Ralph.
That's
Is there gonna be some documentation, and we,
Well, you went with the low bidder.
anecdotally, he told us all, so.
Better, once again, this is not a professional service. This,
That's a bid.
it's a capital project. So that's.
So there's a difference between a bid process or a request
Doesn't
for
apply to
bids,
this.
or a request for proposal.
This is
Example
mainly
would be
engineer-
what we gave to Ray Garren to review our.
Engineering
our-
fees, accounting fees.
Okay,
water,
okay, I got it.
Right?
I got it.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
And while I have you in this section of the manual, if you go to the preceding page 33, change a couple of the thresholds. If you go to the methods of purchase, A at the top of the page, the prior policy had under $3,000, we would have to get 2 verbal quotes. And that's just more and more in scrutiny and audits. It's verbal quotes are like, what's a verbal quote? How do you get a verbal quote? You basically, you're writing down that you call X and Y, you got a couple prices, and you make that document to file, but it's really nothing concrete there. So what this does, and this follows what the County of Ulster has done, a similar adjustment to their procurement policy, is under $3,000, it's when it's, you'll notice there's an asterisk, it says award at the discretion of the purchasing agent, and it would be in consultation with the requisitioning department. But it says the purchase, and the reason for the asterisk is that the purchasing agent may determine on a case-by-case basis a more stringent policy if it's warranted to be in the best interest of the city. So it's not a complete abandonment of seeking multiple quotes on smaller purchases, but it does make it, because one of the things the controller in his audit findings too, he wants you to demonstrate, the controller's office wants you to demonstrate that you followed the policy and you've documented it. Well, in the active flow of work, and you're getting a couple of quotes as a small, what I call a micro purchase, the documentation isn't as tight as it would be on a larger procurement action. So this makes it so it's a better defense. It's not really a exposed weakness in any type of audit review.
Yeah, it's tighter as the
Not being held up for.
Well,
Right, it sets the bar higher for the written quotes and below that. And we've talked about internally, on a verbal quote, we tend to go to the business where we already have the lowest price, where we have prior experience anyway.
Exactly. You kind of have an established, price on a small.
One of you just, I think, answered a question I had. You audit all this?
Not audit per se. I mean, Brian is the procurement officer, so Brian actually manages the purchase order in the procurement process. So he is quarterbacking that.
Right.
Right. So when the city, at my level of review, I can see whether or not purchase orders have been obtained. I don't necessarily look at every bid or that, but that's what Brian's.
And that auditing also.
The controller provides the oversight.
Well, the check on the auditing is our annual internal audit that we have every year. They do a sample and they test sample our.
But the one thing I can tell you is that, you get the vouchers on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
I get the vouchers, I review them, you review them. You'll notice if there's a purchase order number assigned to it, it's gone through purchasing. And there's a purchase order, and that purchase order has gone through the procurement manual process.
Okay.
I tend to look for items that don't have a purchase order on it.
Yeah.
That highlights me that
The
there's something to look at.
Uh-ohs.
Yeah. Which is another part of the process here. I don't want to get ahead of what Brian's going to talk about, but we increased the purchase order limit from $500 to $1,000 as part of this policy as well. We've increased the P card limit from $500 to $1,000 to mirror that. There's been an increase, a good increase in activity on the P cards that departments have. It's a functionality that departments have a purchasing card that they can make transactions at local vendors, typically up to a certain dollar amount in response to the department's need for additional purchasing authority. We've recommended increasing from $500 to $1,000. Once again, every time a department uses a P card, it's one less voucher that comes up here. There's still oversight because the P card transaction incurred by a department is still put together in a report by another member of that department. It goes through over to accounts payable. Accounts payable sees the transaction. I see the transaction. Brian is systematically looking at transactions as well. The council sees them. So there's still oversight. It's just a quicker process for making a procurement.
And I can tell you also, when I look at the transaction, I'm looking to make sure quoting or also guarding against splitting procurements that remain below the dollar threshold. I kind of monitor that and follow up with the departments.
Is this a credit card? I don't know. It looks like a credit card. What?
It's a Visa card.
It's a Visa? You got one?
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what it looks like.
The department has employees they assign.
Oh, so it's like a regular?
Oh, isn't that cool looking?
Most departments have one or two. Public Works has about a half dozen.
Okay, so it's a credit card. It looks like a credit card.
This is a new one.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh, man, I better get into it.
Okay, I just was curious, with P card, I'm like, credit card? Okay.
Also, before we get on to the other substantive item, really, I just wanted, there were two other really minor changes. On page 15, there was the Hudson Valley Municipal Purchasing Group. That's the online where we post our bids. It's now called the Empire State Purchasing Group, so I just changed the name to reflect the current name of the organization. Page 15. It's a very minor.
Which paragraph, Brian?
Empire State Purchasing.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go, okay.
In prior, it was referred to as Hudson Valley Municipal Purchasing Group. The organization has a new name, so this is just to reflect the new name of that organization.
Okay.
And on page 15 as well, the language regarding use of brand names is in this specific. You probably might not really notice, but I've enhanced the language and clarified it as.
Sorry, where is that?
On page 15.
Yeah.
The use of brand names. It's in the developing a bid specification.
Oh.
It's just it's a rewording of that, just to make clear, again, pull together that, what equivalent, actually it was on page 16. Just trying to make clear what we need, because typically in bid specifications you might use we want a blue channel coffee cup here, about XYZ, and that's put out there to communicate to potential bidders the product we're looking for or equivalent. That's just one of the use. So in the use of brand names, we just enhance the language.
So that was added?
Yeah, it was enhanced. There was a brand name section in there, but I just enhanced the language to make it a little bit stronger and clear to, as we prepare bid specifications, what we're looking to have in it. The other, I guess, Substantive change would be on page 27. Sorry I'm taking you around the book, but this is the only way I get people to really open it and look through it.
So I can throw in new ones in my car.
Come on, Brian, come on, you don't think you're all gonna go home?
That's why we don't have one of those
I'll tell you,
fancy things.
it's a bestseller. Really, it's great night table reading. It has a very soporific effect.
Yeah.
You should read that.
26 and 27, there's a section on emergency procurements. What we've done here is to enhance the documentation requirements for emergency procurements. Now, emergencies, obviously, the best example of emergency procurements that we've had recently was Hurricane Sandy. Okay? Where in an emergency, it's where the immediate health, life, safety, or damage to property, or public or private, is in immediate danger, and action is required immediately. There's no time to even go out and seek competitive quotes. Although the state controller says, where practical, still try to get quotes even. Okay, so what we've done here is make a requirement, and the change is this third paragraph, I guess, on page 27. And it's what we're looking to do is in having our procurement files for emergency procurements, a real solid documentation of why it was emergency, what the basis for determining an emergency was, who we contracted with, why we chose that particular event. And this all can be done, it doesn't need to be done contemporaneously as emergencies occurring. It's something to do, it could be a follow-up on within a reasonable time period. And to that end, in the appendix, I guess the very last page, I put together an emergency procurement worksheet for the departments to this. This will be the very last page of the manual.
Standards for best value.
Wait a minute. Not the last page, the first page of the appendix section.
Yeah, and right after the appendix.
Where's the appendix?
Right at the very back.
In the back.
After page 49.
I had a worksheet.
Half calendar,
Worksheet.
Oh, okay.
We don't need this.
Okay.
And what that is, that's just a worksheet, and it's kind of a flow sheet, how we work our way through a particular emergency, and it's a way of documenting it for a file, so if subsequently and emergencies aren't always as dramatic as something as like Hurricane Sandy, where it's a life event that you'll never forget. Sometimes emergencies are small. And if you don't document it in a reasonable time frame,
you forget.
It gets fuzzy, it gets hazy. Then you can have it maybe 18 months later, you have an auditor come in, want to know the circumstances. So I developed this worksheet. This is my own. This is something I put together to assist the departments and myself. And this is something I would work with the departments in helping to document why it was and how it was. And so 18 months later on a small writer, it's right in the file, it's attached to the requisitions, and we can have we can explain to an auditor why and how our decision, what our decision process was.
Very nice.
Takes 10 minutes to do, but we could save 5 hours later.
I'd be willing to spend 45 minutes.
45.
But yeah, it would be something worth doing, I think.
Sure.
I think it would be very helpful to have in the file going forward, as once an emergency is declared. And
Good.
Is this supposed to be a blank page in here? Right
Usually
after
you'll say
that?
this.
Oh, yeah,
Usually we say this is a blank page.
Yeah, no, this is the worksheet is the very last page.
This blank is,
of it.
this page is intentionally left blank.
So, and then the only other thing is, and this is something that was related to the article in the Freeman, I guess, on Sunday, is related to the planned acquisition of the fire truck, or maybe plan. To participate in cooperative purchasing, we needed to pass a local law authorizing us. It would be called best value local law. I sent a communication to the Councilwoman, Council President Noble, with the assistance of Kevin. He helped me prepare it. But inserted in this manual, on page 14, is language that refers to the best value.
What page?
Page 14, the last paragraph is where it begins.
runs into 15, 14, that's area 14 and 15.
Yeah, exactly. It crosses over on the page. But this best value local law, once it's passed, will allow us to participate in NJPA or Houston Galveston cooperative purchasing groups. And what just give you a little background on it. Cooperative purchasing, while it's some ways it may be similar to buying off state contract, it isn't quite, the documentation thresholds are higher. We still have to obtain all the documents that show that the item went out for a competitive bid. We have to obtain the affidavit of advertisement for bids. We have to get the bid specifications, the bid responses. We have to accumulate all that documentation into the procurement file. Whereas typically on a state contract, if you download the contract, you cite the contract number, you verify you're getting the appropriate discount, done. That's an OGS thing. What we have to do, because this comes from various parts of the country, and this is something that with increasing frequency in New York State. New York State was the 50th state to allow cooperative purchasing. But you know what though? And once they're right to wait, because all the bugs, not only say all the bugs, but many bugs got worked out of the system prior to this. So it was probably a wise thing to wait and be the fit. They don't want to be the first one into the pool all the time.
So do you anticipate this request for local law to go through laws and rules?
Right, yes, I believe so. I mean, I brought a copy with me.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bernie.
Yeah, I got a question, Brian.
Yeah.
Does this local law have to be amended frequently?
No. No,
Okay.
the county also passed one.
I'm just talking about the city of Kingston. What the county does is...
No, I know, but I'm just saying, the experience so far on this, it doesn't have to
Then
be.
my question is it a local law or an ordinance?
The local law.
If it's a local law, then you're talking 90 to 120 days before anything can happen.
Unfortunately, yes,
Okay.
but...
And then if you want to amend it, it's another 90 or 100. With an ordinance, you can do it within 30 days.
And the law requires
90 to 120 days. That's because it has to be filed with the Secretary of State, approved by them, and then come back.
And this will need to be filed with the Secretary of State.
Local laws do.
So, but we have no problem going forward with this fire truck purchase, right?
Well, that's
What
another
was-
issue. That's another issue.
Well, see, that's another issue, because you're talking 18 months to build it, and then we gotta wait for the system.
18 months? I don't know that it was ever 18 months.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes 2 years, Brian.
Sometimes 2 years.
For
the fire truck?
The bids we had all, I think, had 12 months.
Well,
The bids we just
12
received
months.
said 12 months.
Yeah,
We do
but
wait
but
12 months,
delivery
we're
is,
talking.
delivery is much more than 12 months.
So I'm adding.
You don't go to the showroom and say, I want this.
No, they're all, I know that, they're all custom
Right, no, I'm
built,
saying if
but
this-
I will say this though, the bids that we received, the recent bid, were all 12 months received ARO.
And the price
So-
changes as the months go on. I've been
So my
there.
question was, if this takes so many months to get placed, can we go ahead and start purchasing, put the order, we have to wait till this is official?
I think in the meantime, I don't think, it would depend on corporate counsel's answer to that question, but but I would think that we would be able to put all the documentation, obtain all that, even pinning down what we're looking for. But I think actually, depending on the opinion of corporate counsel or the powers that be, when we actually press the button and
Well, I think
place
that's what
the
he's
order.
doing, because that's why he mentioned, the co-op, Mark Brown, for the truck.
I can't speak for Mark Rack, I can only speak for
Okay, well, I'm just,
purchasing.
I just don't want to lose the sale, I also want to lose the price. So
We don't know, well,
If this is holding it up, that's my concern.
No, this is not.
this is, short of this, Deb, we can't do it.
Yeah. Leave it.
We can't participate in cooperative bidding without this.
This takes how long to get it into place? You just said.
I would defer, I'm not an attorney, I would defer to corporate counsel to say when and how long that takes. That's not,
From our standpoint, it's after June.
90 to 120 days, has to go to, it has to be, after it's all done here, has to go to Secretary of State, they have to sign off on it, and then it goes back here.
So yeah, we're 4 months.
It's a 3-month period, yeah.
Great.
because
So,
I'll tell you this, I've looked at, everyone that I've seen in the state of New York, the last sentence, whether it be the County of Albany, County of Ulster, or other places, the last section, and it says, the local law shall take effect immediately upon filing in the office of New York State Secretary of State. And that language was taken, believe me, I didn't write this myself, I looked at a lot of other examples, and every example has that as their summary sentence in their local law. So I'm not an attorney, I don't know I'm not going to interpret that I can't be in a position to interpret that, but I would defer that to court counsel. But I think in the meantime, I think we can still, once the council passes this, I would feel comfortable enough with going to wherever we're looking to obtain this vehicle through whatever process, and obtaining all that documentation and having that all in place, ready to go, whenever we're ready to prepare and actually place an order.
is that it?
That's all I have.
So what do you need from us? You need approval?
Well, for these changes, and I'm here tonight to.
That's okay.
The purchasing policies and
Okay.
procedures, yeah.
So, any other questions? Department of Purchasing, adopt revised procurement policy and procedures as per attached. Now, there's no date on this. Yes, it is. Sorry.
Yeah.
Revised 5.
It would be, if the council approved it at the May meeting, it would be a.
As per, I'm just going to put revision of, okay? Revision 05, 2016. Estimated financial impact 0. Motion?
Yes. At least that's what Carmen's on. That's what Carmen's on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, Brian. Good work.
All the information.
Good job, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
So we can throw the old ones out of my file cabinet.
Well, yeah, that's all after,
Well, after May.
And again, if anybody is
Every
interested
year.
in seeing any of these, the state controller has them all in their in his newsroom section of his website, or I can email you these specific examples if you're interested in looking at these whatever it is.
Okay, John.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Have a nice night.
Thanks, Brian.
See you, Brian.
All right, you too.
Pass these.
See you, David.
See you.
You're
Now
welcome.
for the bad news, the good news. There you go.
It's early news. It's just a financial update. Just want to give you an idea of where we're at year to date. We're completed posting through February at this point. We're still posting more. As of right now, February, we're 16.67% of the way through the year. It's 2/12 of the way through the year. We've spent 13.7% of the general fund budget. Relatively good shape compared to prior years. I've listed different categories of where we have favorable variances so far. Regular pay, overtime pay, actually overtime pay is fantastic. A 6.5% spent through 2 months. Part-time pay, consultants, electricity right now, it's very early, but we're looking at $100,000 annualized favorable variance. Natural gas, vehicle fuel, that's based on limited data, but we have a favorable variance there as well. On the next paragraph highlights some of the negative variances. Really, and these are all typical this early in the year. Vehicle maintenance, contract services, equipment rental, construction materials and supplies. Departments, particularly DPW, they get their purchase orders out early in the year, which encumbers a good portion of the annual expenses. So this isn't an area of concern necessarily. The health insurance is in line with where it was last year. A lot of the buyouts are early in the year, so that will tend to even out over the course of the year. I will tell you this, there's been a lot of retirements. I'm saying And there's a lot more coming down the pipe.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, it's good and bad, right? So we have to find the cash to make the payouts. Hopefully there will be some delay in backfilling some of these positions, which will provide some funding for that. On the positive side, you know, employee turnover through, you know, of this type through retirement does allow us to bring in a new generation of worker who's at a different tier in the retirement system, which is more cost affordable for the city. So it's not to say it's budget neutral, it's not, but there's future year benefit by.
Bad news, good news.
Yeah, good, bad news, good news, right?
Do you know, do you have an idea how many? I know of one city clerk's office. We knew
I know, I don't have the names with me, but I know roughly half a dozen.
Wow.
Who are
To what, to fire,
several
fire, police and city?
DPW, Parks and Rec,
Okay.
mainly, yeah. Sales tax, limited data. As a,
Road salt, how come 48, almost 48% expended? We didn't have any snow. Huh?
expended or encumbered, so they have purchase orders out for,
Oh.
doesn't mean they've actually used it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back, some don't go
Yeah,
back.
so-
Yeah, okay, next one.
Right, so.
John, what's the tax certiorari?
Yeah, thank you.
Tax certiorari, that's
Payouts for
the,
assessment.
those are the challenged assessments that Dan Baker comes up and talks to us about.
And you vote.
Yeah, right, the council votes on those. They've really been reduced a lot.
Yeah, he
Because
cleaned up
of-
a lot of
because of
those.
Dan.
It used to be, yeah, it used to be a ton of those.
Yeah, we were at one point, there were several $100,000 a year. They've reduced a lot. We've been able to reduce in the last several years our outstanding tax balances. So that's been a big help. Go back to the road salt question, just,
Okay.
that's item 6 down in the second part of that. Unfavorable, it's only 14.8% expended, that category,
Yeah.
right? It's 47.97% expended or encumbered.
It's sitting in the building somewhere. We physically
It's
have
been
it.
ordered, you can't tell by this.
It's on our books.
It's encumbered, it's been ordered, possibly received, but it hasn't been paid yet. So in all likelihood, there's a purchase order out for it, but we don't have it.
Yeah, okay.
So which is one of those, that's an item that they have to go get it as soon as possible, because they don't know.
Right,
if they'll
it's
get
not like
it
you
when
can dial up
we need
and
it.
salt the next day.
And it's probably cheaper right now anyway than when the winter time comes or whatever.
Right, well, yeah, they usually have some supply of salt that they keep there year round.
Quick question, John, on the health insurance, you said it went out to bid, any chances it could be less, based on,
The health insurance broker went out to bid.
right, the broker?
So
Any
I
chance it could be-
don't see any change with health insurance, the actual product this year.
Have you got any bids in, or that hasn't?
Yeah, we did, we received over half dozen bids
Okay.
for a new broker.
Okay,
The new broker wouldn't start until July 1st at the earliest.
okay.
But no, we received a substantial number of bids, some local firms, some non-local firms.
So they have to be replaced by July 1st,
Right, that's the estimated start date.
okay.
I mean, we still have a lot of review to do.
Is there a lot of difference in the bids? You see, are they all about the same, are they high, low?
We haven't had a chance to go through
We
it.
haven't, okay.
No, but once again, this isn't for the insurance itself, this is just for the broker.
For the broker?
The broker itself, so, the broker isn't, right now, we don't pay for a broker.
Okay.
Our broker's paid through the MVP fees. So, part of our review process will be looking at, what their proposed fee structure, if it's, to continue to be paid through the MVP fees, if there's anything additional. It's gonna include Affordable Care Act reporting and how they propose to handle that.
Yeah, didn't we have to send out, they had to pay somebody to do that? Did we?
No, we end up using, the current health insurance broker to do the Affordable Care Act reporting for this year.
Okay, because you remember you said you didn't feel confident.
We did, well, what happened is, it actually got to the point where it's too late to switch. It got too late to switch, so
Are
we
you gonna get
stayed.
hit if there's any errors? We
I,
have to put that as a,
No,
it's just,
I hope, that, we've had a lot of conversations, I mean,
because
they
that
have a
could hit us
fiduciary,
hard.
they have a
That
fiduciary
could hit us
responsibility to do it properly,
Mhm.
but it's part of this RFP process.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Sales tax, I attached the sales tax update really just through January, that's all that we've received yet. We are The month of January was favorable. It was up 6.8% over the prior year, but it, you know, it's too early to give you much of a.
But is this a projection based upon January? You know, it's like,
Yeah, well-
with 2% of the vote in, you're projecting.
Right. Yeah,
Is that type of thing?
Yeah, and I'll explain how I do this. And this is one of those things that rarely more accurate as the year goes on.
Yeah.
So what we do is we project the sales tax for the year in two different ways. One is if the year-to-date increase over the prior year continues. In the bottom box at 13,263,000 is projecting the 2016 sales tax as if the year-to-date increase 6.8% continued for the rest of the year. We know that that's unlikely, but
What does 75% weight mean?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
And then we also project the sales tax assuming that the remaining receipts for the remainder of the year, in this case the remaining 11 months, are flat with the prior year. There's no increase.
Then you have.
Okay, and then we do a weighted average, and we attribute 75% of the weight to the year-to-date increase and 25% to flat. And early in the year, it's a little less accurate. As you get up, move on later in the year, the weighted average becomes pretty accurate. I mean, to keep in mind, that last year, I believe we were within $5,000 of our sales tax budget.
How much?
Within 5,000. Yeah, we're pretty close. So as of right now, this year is projecting favorable. I wouldn't put a lot of stock in a 406, but we just have to continue to monitor it. I mean, obviously, there's a larger sales tax issue
So this is
I'm yelling at.
Controller's dream, expenditures below budget and then sales tax above budget.
So far, so good.
What's, now, this percentage here of our contingency balance, assigned fund balance,
Right.
how does that affect our bond rating? Are you doing still pretty good?
Yeah, we're okay. I'll go through that. Okay. So the $198,217 is our current budget contingency balance. The unassigned fund balance is the $2,982,092. That is our unassigned, basically our piggy bank, so to speak, right? As of December 31st, 2014. I will have internal numbers for 15 the first week of May.
Okay.
And then those numbers are still subject to audit, but we'll have numbers at that point. The state controller's guideline is to the 7.31%, so everyone's aware of what that calculation is. It's basically taking a $2.9 million number divided by the following year's budgeted expenditures. In this case, I've updated to divide it by the 2016 expenditures. The guideline of the state controller's office is between 5 to 15%. Our internal policy, as we know, we've talked about a few times, is to strive to maintain a level of 10%. I believe when the 2015 results come out, we'll move closer to the 10%. But we'll have firm numbers, at least for you internally, at the next meeting.
Great.
Okay.
And our bond rate right now is?
Our bond rating is AA-.
Okay, so, because I'm concerned because we're just buying a whole bunch of stuff, okay.
Well, that is a global question. I mean, something that we have to keep an eye on. I mean, the bonding has presented budgeting challenges for the city.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you look at our budgeted debt service, it's increased a lot, particularly in the sewer department.
And the unknown of the sales tax.
Well, keep in mind too, the Washington Avenue Tunnel, some of it's sewer, some of it's stormwater. The stormwater portion is a hit on the city's general fund. And that is part of our tax cap.
Yeah.
So, so, we've talked about the useful life, right? You're looking, mainly, usually 20 years is what we end up paying for the sewer work over. So for every $1 million you borrow in sewer work, it's $50,000 a year in principal payment that you're looking at.
I'll be gone by
So, that's my update. If anyone has any questions anytime, let me know. I'll give you an update in May. It'll have the December 31st 15 numbers.